The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council stretched endlessly upward, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that had witnessed the subjugation of 1,000 species. At its center stood Ambassador Sarah Chen, her worn, diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial robes of the 12 council members who towered above her on their elevated platforms. The Zephyrian Prime Speaker's voice resonated through the chamber like grinding stone. "Human, you have heard our decree. Your species will submit to the collective mandate, as have all others before you. You will surrender your weapons, your ships, and your autonomy. In return, you will be granted the privilege of existence under our protection." Sarah's hands remained steady at her sides, though she could feel the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders. Behind her, holographic displays showed the Council's armada. Millions of ships from dozens of conquered worlds, their hulls bearing the scars of compliance. "The choice is simple," continued the ethereal overlord, its gaseous form shifting within its containment field. "Kneel and live, or resist and be erased from the cosmic record." The assembled representatives of the conquered species watched in silence. The proud Arcturians, once masters of their own stellar empire, now served as clerks and administrators. The warrior Kethvar, whose legends spoke of battles that shook planets, had been reduced to maintenance crews. Each species had faced this same moment, and each had chosen survival over defiance. Sarah looked up at the 12 beings who had carved up the galaxy among themselves, who had built their empire on the broken backs of subjugated worlds. She thought of Earth, of the blue marble that had given birth to dreamers and rebels, to artists and scientists who had clawed their way from caves to the stars despite every obstacle the universe had thrown at them. "Well, human," the Dominar of Proxima's mechanical voice grated with impatience, "we grow weary of this display. Submit now, and your death will be quick and merciful when the time comes for your replacement." The chamber fell into absolute silence. Even the ambient hum of the station system seemed to pause, as if the universe itself held its breath. Sarah Chen, representing 7 billion souls who had refused to go gently into that good night, straightened her spine and looked up at the council. "No." The single syllable echoed through the crystalline chamber with the force of a thunderclap. Several council members actually recoiled as if struck. The Zephyrian Prime Speaker's crest flared in outrage. "You refuse?" The words came out as a strangled whisper. "No species has ever refused the mandate. It is impossible, illogical, suicidal." Sarah's voice carried across the chamber with quiet steel. "Humans have a saying, better to die on your feet than live on your knees. We didn't crawl out of the primordial soup and fight our way to the stars just to kneel before bullies." The ethereal overlord's form pulsed with anger. "You arrogant insects. Do you comprehend the forces arrayed against you? We have conquered species with technology that dwarfs your primitive rockets and nuclear weapons. Your entire fleet would not challenge a single one of our dreadnoughts." "Maybe not," Sarah conceded with a slight smile. "But you're making the same mistake everyone who's ever underestimated humanity makes. You're thinking like conquerors, not survivors." The Dominar's optical sensors focused on her with laser intensity. "Explain." "You see, the thing about humans is that we're really, really good at being stubborn. We're the species that looked at the impossible and called it Tuesday. We split atoms by accident and then did it on purpose. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and our own stupidity for millennia. And every single time someone or something tried to make us kneel, we had the same response." Sarah's voice grew stronger, carrying the weight of human history. "When the Nazis demanded Europe kneel, we said no. When nature demanded we accept our limitations, we said no and reached for the stars anyway. When our own planet tried to kill us with climate change, we adapted and kept fighting. That's what we do. That's who we are." The chamber erupted in discussions among the council members, their alien languages creating a cacophony of disbelief and rage. Finally, the Zephyrian Prime Speaker restored order. "Your bravado is admirable but futile. We will crush your rebellion and make examples of your leaders. Your no will become a whispered memory." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "You might win. Your fleets are bigger, your weapons more advanced, but here's what you don't understand about humans. We don't fight to win. We fight because it's right. And we've gotten very, very good at making our enemies pay for every inch." She gestured to the holographic displays showing Earth's modest defenses. "You'll take our world eventually, but we'll make you bleed for it. And when you do, every other species watching will see that the mighty Galactic Council can be hurt. That resistance is possible. That someone, somewhere, said no." The ethereal overlord's voice dropped to a menacing whisper. "You would sacrifice your entire species for a gesture?" "Not a gesture," Sarah replied, her eyes blazing with the fire that had carried humanity from caves to cosmos. "A declaration, a promise, a legacy. When you're done with us, you'll know you've been in a fight. And every species you conquer after will remember that humans looked at the impossible and spat in its face." She turned her back on the council, a final act of defiance. "We know what you are. Parasites, bullies, cowards hiding behind superior numbers and stolen technology. And we want you to know what we are." Sarah Chen walked toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing like drumbeats in the silence. At the threshold, she paused and looked back one final time. "We are humans, and we do not kneel." The crystalline doors sealed behind her with the finality of a declaration of war. The council sat in stunned silence, having encountered something they had never faced in their millennia of conquest. A species that chose defiance over survival, that answered overwhelming force with a single, impossible word. Above Earth, the human fleet prepared for humanity's last stand, carrying the weight of that word into the darkness between stars.